I'm Reverend J. Stuart Glover, and you're listening to Faith Talk. Today, I want to highlight the value of reading multiple Bible translations, especially when seeking clarity or deeper meaning from a particular passage. For some, passages are more complex than others, and looking at different versions can bring out nuances that might otherwise be missed. Relying on a single translation can sometimes shape your theology in subtle ways and ultimately influence how you live out your faith tradition. So let me give you a concrete example of how different translations can offer distinct insights, even when they're drawn from the same verse. So the scripture we'll focus on comes from a part of a series of parables in the Gospel of Matthew, the 25th chapter, that speaks to the end times. And one of the most well-known of these is the parable of the sheep and the goats, which centers on divine judgment, end-time judgment, and it offers guidance on how we should live in the here and now. So let's take a closer look at a specific verse, Matthew 25:40. And explore how this slight difference in wording between translations can help shape our understanding. In the New International Version, the NIV, the verse reads this way. The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." Now here the emphasis is on what we do for others, the outcasts, the marginalized, the poor, and the forgotten. These acts like feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, caring for the sick, and visiting the imprisoned are seen as acts of service done for Christ himself. The phrase "done for" carries a positive, a compassionate connotation. It speaks of support, kindness, and intentional service. But now let's take another look. Look at the New Life Version, the NLV. It presents the same verse in this way. "For sure I tell you, because you did it to one of the least of my brothers, you have done it to me." Well, guess what? The word "to" changes the dynamic. It reminds us that it's not only about what we do for others, but also what we do to them. Now, this can be empowering, it can be sobering, and it also can serve up an indictment. If our actions are unkind, dismissive, or even harmful, we must ask ourselves, are we comfortable with the idea that those actions, what we do, is also being done to Christ? This distinction is powerful. It challenges us to be more mindful in how we treat others, especially those who are most vulnerable. So whether you're a world leader, a religious leader, a community organizer, or a parent, this verse has deep relevance. It calls us to reflect on the relationship between serving God and how we serve one another. So let's remember, our faith is not just about our beliefs. It's about how those beliefs are lived out in everyday actions. I'm Reverend J. Stuart Glover. You've been listening to Faith Talk. You can find these episodes on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and other podcast platforms. Please share with your family, friends, and leaders in your community. Thank you for listening in, and God bless you.